Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on Speaking of Miracles here today. I'm so excited to be here today with Andrew Hicks from our Arts and Medicine team at UF Health Shands Hospital. My name is Tara Tovkach, and I'm a Development Associate on the Children's Miracle Network team here at UF Health Shands Children's Hospital. And we love hosting these Speaking of Miracles Lunch and Learn so that you're able to see a little bit more into our hospital and how Children's Miracle Network dollars make such a huge impact on many different areas around our hospital. Before we dive into hearing from our speaker, I wanted to share a little bit more about CMN hospitals and the impact we have here in Gainesville, thanks to incredible partnerships, programs, and events that fundraise all year for us. UF Health Shands Children's Hospital is our local member hospital of Children's Miracle Network Hospitals. CMN Hospitals is a international nonprofit organization dedicated to raising funds and awareness for children's hospitals. Our founding pledge is to keep all donations in the area in which they were raised, and that remains at the core of our philosophy. On the call today, we have a great gathering of partners, such as our friends from Dance Marathon at UF and FSU, our high school dance marathon programs, Dairy Queen, Extra Life, Campus USA, Southwest Georgia Oil, McLean, Knight Transportation and Swift Transportation, Ace Hardware, Wawa, Remax, and many more supporters of Children's Miracle Network. Throughout their partnerships with CMN hospitals at UF Shands Children's Hospital, they have the ability to serve children coming to the hospital for medical care. With all funds going directly back to UF Shands, we are able to make an incredible impact on the lives of children and families who need advanced medical treatment. Every dollar we raise ensures our hospital is well equipped with the proper tools whenever children need them most. Your fundraising has helped purchase life-saving equipment, fund groundbreaking research, and provide funds for diversionary and social support programs that would not otherwise be possible. As we hear from our speaker today, we'll learn more about these social support programs and how CMN funds are in action every day at our hospital. If you're tuning in on the YouTube live stream, you'll have to be logged in to do so, but feel free to put questions in the chat as we are monitoring them, and we'll have time to ask them at the end. We also have the ability to take questions via text too. So you'll text chat live to 41372 and ask questions throughout. So with all of that, let's hear from our fabulous guest, Andrew, and I'll turn it over to you to introduce yourself.
Hello, Tara. Thank you. I'm Andrew Hicks. I'm a licensed massage therapist here in Florida. I work for the Arts and Medicine program at UF Health Shands, and I've worked here for 13 years. Since 2011 was about the time I was getting started with my work. And it's just been a fantastic experience, lots of learning, growing for the program and for me. And I'm really glad to be able to share anytime I get to tell stories. I'm an English literature degree holder from the University of Florida. Go Gators. And I'm really always glad to make a bridge between this very powerful work that I do here in the hospital and the rest of the world and town.
Awesome. Well, go Gators. Sorry to our FSU friends, but that is awesome. So it gets kind of started on some more of these questions. What drew you to your current role at our hospital 13 years ago?
It's a really meandering journey that I took, a bit of a strange one, but essentially I wanted to be a teacher, which in a way I've been able to do through this work, but I tried to go teach in public schools in Brooklyn. I was at a charter school, did not work out. That was a failed experiment, and I learned a lot. Came back home to UF and went to the Florida School of Massage while I lived in Gainesville for a little while. Loved the work, found it very connective with people, very different from my work as a literature professor. And so essentially, I switched to kind of a combination of things. I came into to the Arts and Medicine program as a martial arts practitioner with the, I was, basically I studied Tai Chi a little bit at UF. And then when I came back to Gainesville, I met someone in a chance encounter in public who guided me to a studio where I could learn some techniques for health and wellness that were also martial arts based. So Tai Chi is a form of Kung Fu. And I found that one of the people who was working here at Shands actually had to go and move on to another field and decided to look for a successor and found me. So I took over the position and started working with the kids over at mostly at the pediatric immunocompromised population, but also the generalized population at Shands. And we did classes where they would learn, if they called it karate, we called it karate, but they would learn some kind of Kung Fu, and mostly it was a chance to be empowered and breathe and learn to be mindful and enjoy the aspects they could enjoy of their very difficult hospital stays.
Really neat. So you can kind of do it all, is what I'm hearing. Storytelling,
That's the idea.
literature, music, so many things. Kind of in that same vein and so many things. Can you touch more on what arts and medicine is at our hospital? I think a lot of folks kind of walk into the hospital maybe to take a tour and kind of think arts and medicine is that visual arts. And they don't understand that it has such a comprehensive approach to at our hospital and how many different practices we can do. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yes, there are so many artists working here who have interdisciplinary practices. They do visual art, they do music, they do literary arts like I do. And of course, there's also the integrative therapies team doing relaxation and mindfulness, and in my case, body work. It's a kind of approach that is to do all kinds of different things to help people feel human, to help people feel creative in the hospital while they're dealing with their treatment plans. So we have a very robust musical program where people with guitars or piano, there's even a portable keyboard, will come around and sing and play music for patients. That's one of the most popular and consistent services in arts and medicine. But there's also basically anything that people want to do artistically. We'll try to find a way to help facilitate that, to teach them skills, to give them supplies. It can start with coloring and then move into a whole songwriting project in ways that no one predicted would happen. But we're always looking for ways to help people express, no matter what that expression looks like.
Sometimes on tours, I get questions of, is arts and medicine simply just a distraction for our kids in the hospital, or does it mean more? And sometimes I touch on how you guys are helping build legacies for our patients, and like legacy building projects, should our patient not be able to leave the hospital after their stay. Can you touch a little bit more? I know you work a lot in that department as well.
Absolutely. I love talking about legacy work. It's one of the most meaningful things that I do in my work. However, I will take a moment to address distraction. It's a really beautiful thing to have a distraction in the hospital. And sometimes, especially if the distraction is especially aesthetically pleasing, like a musician coming in and singing a song, and just it's a concert from a professional musician. So it can be pretty mind-blowing for people, or very emotive. They start crying and having memories and experiences, and then socially engaging with the practitioner. So in terms of the distraction, it's just really powerful sometimes to be in a state that's constantly focused on pathology, and then there's a beautiful moment of music or a beautiful painting is suddenly in my room. I can look at it all day. But that being said, since the question was about legacy work, the opportunity to communicate something, to create art with someone who is either in the process of transitioning away from life and has family that they want to share their feelings with, or people in their lives, friends and family that they want to leave something for, to show them what they are and how they feel, is just one of the most beautiful things that I have the chance to do. I've done letters to children where I'll record them speaking and write it down into a letter, put it on CD. We've made songs that are ways of expressing how people want to be seen, or or the things that they cared about in life. Someone spoke about their medical journey in a conversation with us that we turned into a song called 3 Lifetimes, because they had gone through transplant twice. And so they were seeing that these different hearts are all different lifetimes that they'd had, that they were so grateful to have experienced. And that was even in the course of them still hospitalized, still struggling, and wanting to share. So sometimes it doesn't even have to be that someone is looking at a poor prognosis in the short term. They might just really want to give their thoughts and feelings to the world in the form of art. And in doing so, they establish a legacy, whether they have a really good outcome or if they're unable to continue living. Either way, they've created something that they can have forever and their family can share.
Wow. Yeah, I try to do my best to describe that with my tours that ask questions about arts and medicine, but that was beautiful. Thank you for sharing about that specific project too. I'm sure that's a very touching song. In your role, I'm sure things like that are very rewarding, but what is the most rewarding part of your job?
I thought of that one right away. That I mean, some of the people who I work with in legacy work, they haven't. Not only have they not made art on a level of like a produced song, a fully produced song with professional elements, but also they may not have ever spoken the words that they're about to speak when they are writing a letter or speaking for their families. It might be that they've never said those things before, and that's like there's touching, and then there's like things that stick with me for weeks of how beautiful it was to witness someone being vulnerable in a way they never had because I'm there to, because someone had a conversation with them on like the palliative care team who said,
Mm.
hey, consider this really helps people. And then they just made themselves available for it. And I'm there to facilitate. And that is just incredible. In addition to that, I would say creatively, it's just really fun sometimes to do
Mhm.
creative work in collaboration. I do a lot of work in collaboration, not just with patients, but with my fellow artists on the team. So when I'm in the room with one of my friends and he's got a guitar and we're jamming and the patient is coming up with cool improvised lyrics, and then we turn it into a song, and we put it on the radio, and then people talk to me, they say, hey, I heard that song on the radio. That's really good. It's been stuck in my head. Like, that's just a beautiful experience from start to finish when it comes to the creative elements that appear spontaneously in this very sterile setting that then goes out into the world, and people like it like they would like any song they hear on the radio. That's really cool.
You mentioned radio. Would you be willing to share more about the radio that you're referring to within our hospital?
Yes, it's called Shift Change Radio Hour, and we have a program on WMBT 90.1 FM, the Wombat in Gainesville. It's a wonderful shortwave radio station that hosts our program every Wednesday from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. and 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. every Wednesday. Michael Clater and I are the two lead co-producers, and we bring other members of the arts and medicine team on as producers and as contributors. But any opportunity that we have to work with patients or staff, we can then debut that creative work or tell their story on the radio through that show. It was originally created during the pandemic to help with staff morale. Like, people were really struggling, and we thought, if we have something to bring everyone together, we can use music and we can get requests and have artists play the songs and then put them on the air. So it continues to this day. We go and have our volunteers or students go out and engage with healthcare workers to help them have a better day and have some really fun, distracting engagement very briefly in their workday. But then it's something they can refer back to and listen to the whole show and say, oh, that's me. There's my shout out.
That sounds so cool. I know I've learned very recently, in fact, that you've worked with some of our ambassador families with Shift Change, the station, and kind of doing some stories with them. So I'm going to pull up their pictures. If you wouldn't mind talking a little bit more about these projects with our friends, Miss Betsy and Lauren Price.
So I met Miss Betsy way back when Marshall was actually admitted to Shands. I was called in to do some Tai Chi with him, and he wasn't really super into the relaxation, but she was very much. Like, she wanted to breathe with me. And with him, I mostly did Mario voices and things that he found fun and funny. Like, we would just riff together a bit, and I'd meet him where he was at. But then I would kind of hang out with her and say, well, what are you up to? Let's go have a breath in the consult room. And so we became like, every time I would go to the room, I would hang out with her, and we would do creative work together. During the pandemic, we did a writing prompt where I would have like a little remote writing group, and we would answer the prompts and then read together like a little writers club. And so Miss Betsy was a big part of that. We ended up having her on the live anniversary for the radio show. She's been on like 6 times on the radio show and has written 2 songs, I believe, maybe 3 with the program. Amazing contributor. And we did a whole series of writings together where I helped edit some of her work about her time with arts and medicine. Lauren, she brought on a couple of times. They were going to collaborate together, and I was just interviewing them for the radio show. We had some great interviews with them, and they're both so bright and powerful as communicators and storytellers.
Agreed. We just had Dance Marathon at FSU this past weekend. They raised a fantastic $1.3 million.
Amazing.
I know, right? Incredible work. And both of them got to share with the audience there, and like echoing the fact that they are fantastic storytellers. I want to kind of highlight a little bit more of what you just said, though, with when you visited Marshall and Miss Betsy when he was inpatient. Marshall was the patient, not necessarily Miss Betsy. How does your work extend to the family unit like that from time to time through them and other patients?
Every once in a while, we'll get some kind of referral to actually help with a caregiver, a family member, giving them some coloring material, something like that. But often we'll go into a room and an artist will find that the family is present and that they also could benefit from participating. So it becomes a group exercise where if it's, say, like a music offering and the artist is going to play some music, the patient will have the first say in what is preferential, like what they want to hear. But often the family will make it like an experience for everyone, which makes it much more meaningful and enjoyable to have everyone chiming in and adding their songs. In that way, it can grow into something that supports the caregivers as well. In this case, because Ms. Betsy was already a writer, a songwriter, and someone who really connected deeply with the arts, it was very organic for us to start just in conversation, learning more about our artistic identities with each other, which is often how it happens. Someone kind of identifies as an artist or as not an artist, and then arts and medicine comes in and expands that for people.
Not to put you on the spot, but I definitely stalked your UFL's profile and saw that there was a mention that you say the importance of paying good attention in your work. Can you elaborate how that mindfulness enhances both your artistic endeavors and therapeutic practices, and probably came into play when you come into these rooms and notice that the family might benefit from that as well?
Absolutely. It's something that we really try to emphasize in training artists and art practitioners. And it's something that I've grown so much in. When entering a hospital room, there's so much going on. The beeps and the buzzes and the bubbles and whatever lines and tubes are around, people are living their lives there. So caregivers, family members will be, on the couch, spread out with their laptops, everything, their office is there, their bedroom. There's so much going on from the moment of entry into that environment. Right. So being really able to be aware of what's going on, and just literally from a safety perspective of not hitting the one thing that will turn the whole room into a Rube Goldberg machine of just marbles everywhere and things exploding. Like, it just requires a basic but very refined sense of space and orientation. What is the person I am caring for interested in right now? That could be the television. And if that's the case, like if I'm doing a massage therapy session, but the person really wants to watch that show, we're going to do them at the same time, because that's what's going to be most relaxing for them. If I said turn the TV off, they say, how about you leave instead? So as much as people really want body work in the hospital, there are things that are comforts that that may be important, or they might be invested in the story of a television show and don't want to leave it behind. So we'll meet them where they are. And that's one of those aspects of it. Kind of brings a certain humility to be aware of so much of what is going on in the environment. When doctors enter and nurses enter to change IVs in the middle of trying to write a poem, I need to be able to understand how to maintain the work while also leaving space for some of the more primary elements of care, like medicine. And I need to become suddenly just a supportive presence in the room who's putting my own agenda completely out of the way and deferring all of the ideas I had that were exciting about what something's going to become, the artistic product that's going to be made. All of a sudden it becomes like on pause, and I'm just there to experience, yes, do you need me to leave the room? Yes, well, we were just, but those opportunities in themselves become opportunities to share the work, like with the doctor who just came in. Oh, what are you?
Right.
Oh, I'm the writer. We're just making a poem. Oh, really? I didn't know that we had that at the hospital. I didn't know you were a poet. And so then it becomes a connection with everyone in the room, as long as everyone has that same mindfulness to participate in the moment.
Wow. Thank you. You said creating a song, creating poetry in the spaces and kind of meeting the patients where they're at. You shared a song with me. Do you want to pull that up and take a listen to that?
I would love to. I just, I heard this idea that laughter was one of the themes of the day
Yes.
or the month. And I love that people might not associate comedy and the hospital very much, which is fair. But part of what arts and medicine does is try to transgress that in ways that are like what the patient wants. And we had my co-producer for Shift Change, Michael Clater, is also a co-songwriter with me and patients. So we'll often go into a room and start a conversation, and then take that conversation and either develop it lyrically or musically with the patient, or if they're not feeling inclined to do that for one reason or another, we'll take the words that they said and turn them into the lyrics of a song. So we have a kind of an organic process with songwriting with patients.
Yeah, because I think if I were a child, I mean, even I think still today, I do not think I could write a song. Like that's not a confidence that I have. But I feel like you're telling me otherwise.
Brief tangent then. My coworker, my colleague Jahira, who just came on in the last few years, he has been doing ringtones with kids, so that like even little, right? So 3 and 4-year-olds are like mashing on a little toy keyboard, and he's recording and turns it into a clip that like the parent can have as their ringtone, and then everyone's having
so cool,
right? So accessibility and again, meeting people where they are is like a huge theme of what arts and medicine does in the room. So with this situation, we met the patient and found out that she had at one point done some comedy. Like she had studied a little bit of improv comedy and even like did stand up.
Oh, wow.
So she got like an award for like teen stand up or comedy sketch that she had made with some friends. It was so cool. People rarely tell us things like that. So we said, hey, would you like to write a funny song? Like, and not a song about like the process of dying, which is also a really important and beautiful experience, but like a song about a made up character who's having a silly time. So she did want to do that. And we did that process where she just kind of improvised with us. And I wrote a bunch of notes and took them into the studio and started making lyrics. Michael helped with the lyrics and found like a really nice melody. And we ended up creating this song, Michael Clater on vocals and guitar, called Overly Average Joe, which is about this kind of made up in the moment character who is having this experience as kind of he's like a different kind of Florida man. He likes discounts and he likes simple things, but then he's not so predictable as you might think. So this is with Danica and me and Michael, Overly Average Joe. Thanks for listening. Just love Michael's finger picking.
They call me Overly Average Joe. I'm not so overly average though. I ain't afraid to mix my patterns on the town. When the world gets heavy with the artist's pain, with the thorns and roses and glassy veins, old Joe's gonna give you something to wash it down. There's nothing too heavy upon my mind, and that's why y'all are friends of mine. Lately there's been a question that I fear. I've been working hard to get my pay now that I got my vacation days, but just don't know where my van I'm gonna steer. There's a magical land of Delaware where there's no shopping tax. I'm thrilled by the prospect of Costco saving so much hard-earned cash. When something's supposed to cost $50, but I only have to pay $5, there's no greater joy for a man to behold the glory of being alive. But what of the forest of Poconos, with its ski runs and water parks? Can I miss out on the streams where the trout chase their dreams? All I can think about right now is smoked salmon.
Comes my favorite
Well,
part.
I heard the stories about Florida, where I know I can never go, because the grandmothers there would trample me, for sure. They'd raise their middle fingers, and on the brakes of their trucks they slam, and that'd be my terminal detour. I could ask y'all for what to do, hold a meeting, take a vote, but it won't do a lick of good for old Joe, I suppose. I'm a complicated man, contrary to my name. I like salt on my chocolate chip cookies, and the adult works of Shel Silverstein. Let me play you something I've been working on. They call me overly average Joe. I'm not so overly average, though. I ain't afraid to mix my patterns on the town. And when the world gets heavy with the artist's pain, with the thorns of roses and glassy veins, old Joe's gonna give you something to wash it down. If you thought this was going somewhere, I'm just a court jester doing a skit. Gotta keep it light to get through the night, and now you know that's it.
Oh my gosh, that was incredible. Also, the guitar was beautiful. That is so good. Thank you for sharing that. I also want to point out the Costco shout out. Costco is also one of our partners.
Oh, that's lucky. That's lucky.
They are going to be fundraising for us again this year as well. I believe it's in May. I might be wrong, but they fundraise for us every year and do a great job for our children's hospital as well. So what a fun little way to tie them into the song as well.
Wonderful.
That was amazing. And I want to highlight things like that, especially before we wrap today. I feel like we could do like 3 calls with you with how much knowledge you have about our hospital and the services you're able to provide. But the services you're providing are what we call non-billable services. And so we're not charging the patient to come and experience these songwriting, poetry, the massage therapy, all of that when you guys come and visit them in their space. And we're also not able to charge their health insurance companies either, of course. And so these are non-billable services, so reliant on charitable giving. What would you say the area of greatest or like the greatest need of your team is, or how the charitable dollars are used to support used in support of your department, and how important that is for our fundraisers to know, to kind of motivate them to keep going, and also our donors to realize like how important these funds are?
Yeah, a lot of the money that we have, it goes to supplies, because so many of the projects that we need to do, we need really beautiful paint kits and clay and microphones to be able to go into the patient room and make the experience really special for them. Sometimes we go in with just ourselves, but really to be able to do the kinds of works that we can display and inspire people with, we need the artistic supplies, which is a big part of it. And then we can also do special projects and additional works in the community and in the hospital with support for more staff hours and special
Mhm.
project hours. So it's really, I always look forward to finding out that there's going to be some additional money, because I have so many exciting ideas, and so do my colleagues. So we can work on our podcast, taking some of our favorite moments from the radio show and really getting them out into the community in a bigger way. And the Heart Wall,
Yes, yeah.
incredible installation, Sarah Hines and the entire team. So many local people putting a lot of effort into that gorgeous, gigantic mural. If you haven't seen it and you're in Gainesville ever, go check it out.
I need to make a trip down there. I know another one of our ambassadors, Kinsey, also contributed to that wall and that
Big
installation.
Kinsey fan. Big
Yes,
Kinsey fan.
we are.
The coloring book, amazing.
Yes, the coloring book is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we are about to go over time, which again, this is why I'm saying we should make this into a series. Thank you for providing so much insight into your day-to-day arts and medicine, and how it's at work within our hospital, and how charitable dollars, especially from Children's Miracle Network, support that area. Is there anything else you want to share with our viewers that are on today, or maybe watching later, about why they should keep going and kind of feel motivated by the work that they do?
Yeah, thank you so much for your attention. This is like amazing work that we're doing. And I always say, like, the hospital is public health. Like, people here are from the community and they go back into the community. And while they're here, they're in community with the healthcare workers, with each other, and through programs like Shift Change Radio Hour, with whoever's driving by and happens to be tuning into 90.1 FM. So we just have such an amazing opportunity to continue to support building connection with people, and helping them in some of their hardest times that any of us will ever see. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Andrew, for taking time out of your busy day to come chat with us and share more. If anybody ever has any questions to ask Arts and Medicine, we are happy to connect you so that you're able to learn a little bit more about this incredible service at our hospital. But we appreciate y'all tuning in to our stream today, and hope you have a great rest of your week.